I should head over to the enchanting hut, get some more gear made and enchanted. So let me just head over there and... Oh, wait, I don't have any XP to enchant with. Oh, no, I'm fine. But wait a minute. It's just a tiny little hut. Oh. That's right, ladies and gentlemen. It is another Portal Pigman XP farm. The only difference is the experience comes out at the top instead of the bottom. Now, you may be asking yourself, why is this so absolutely revolutionary? Why has Strom made this amazing video that's going to break the meta of it's not. There are plenty of Portal Pigman XP farms out there that are going to get you a bunch of XP by having pigmen spawn in a portal and then killing them. The only difference is this one has the XP come out of the top instead of all the way at the bottom. Which means you just stand all the way up here and you can build this whole thing underground and still get your XP, as you saw in the intro, and just like a tiny little shack. I kind of like that idea of just this nice AFK infinite source of XP in that tiny little shack. But again, why bother building this? Is this better? No, in fact, you can see up at the top left there, it's running at about 18 MSPT in a super flat world, so it's not great. Because the lifetime of these pigmen, we have them falling down, and then they have to track over, they have to come up this column, they have to then fall back down, and then the items, the XP has to come back up. It is not the most lag-efficient design. And this is the only reason to do it, to have, some deco differences. Normally, you'd build these Portal Pigman XP farms, hanging up in the air and have the player come underneath them. And then, you've got this big, ugly box hanging in the air. How do you deco that? Well, this you can deco with whatever build you want on top of it. So deco would be the only reason to do this. You can see even in this world here, with it full in, we're still running at 19 MSPT. So it's not great as far as the MSPT goes, but that does mean, like I said, you don't have to have this giant box floating in the air. So my recommendation is, if you're going to build this on a server, be sure you know who you're working with and, that the whole server knows this okay. The other thing is you have to wait. Those pigmen have to fall down. They have to get dropped over. Then they have to get sucked up the column and then dropped to killed. So there is a bit of a delay before you start getting that XP. But this does work. So I am going to include a world download in this video, so check down the video description for that. I'm just going to real quick run over how this works. I think we all know how Portal Pigman XP farms work, but I'm just going to quick run through it. For those of you who didn't know, portal blocks, when they get random ticked, and there are 6 portal blocks inside of this smallest portal here, they will have a chance to produce a zombified piglin. So if a block gets picked, let's choose this one right here for our example. If it gets picked and it decides to spawn a pigman, then what it's going to do is it's going to look for the lowest block underneath that portal, which is right here in this case, and then spawn a pigman there. If you have the largest portal you can make, which is 21 by 21, then you can actually have 441 portal blocks inside of there instead of just 6. And if you stack that up into a cube, then you can have 9,000 portal blocks. And if you make 32 large cubes, then you have 300,000 portal blocks. So as you can see, you get a nice solid stream of pigmen. The nice thing about Portal Pigmen is they ignore mob cap. So if I look at mob cap, I'm way above mob cap at 160 over my 70. The really nice thing about this is that means that if you're playing on a server with a mob switch, it doesn't matter if the dimension you're in as a mob switch, this farm will still work. Now, in order to get the pigmen to drop XP when they die from fall damage here, because the player's not killing them, they need to be aggravated. And what we're using is some snowmen on each layer. So you can see we have 1 on each layer there. So we've gotten 4 pigmen in there. We've named them so that they don't despawn. And then there is a snow golem hitting them with snowballs. So all these pigmen are getting drawn out by getting aggravated. So they want to run across these trapdoors, get to the center, but they can't. So then they fall in there, where they re-aggro on this bottom one and walk into the water elevator. So that when they fall, even though they're not taking any player kill, whatever, they still drop their XP. Now, Mojang has talked many times about nerfing this. I don't know how I feel about it, but one way or another, in 1.19 at the time of recording this video, this option is still available. So then the final step is then getting that XP up to the player from all the way up here at the kill spot. So they just die of fall damage there. We have magma blocks there so that if any of them were to spawn with a chicken on there, they would land on the magma blocks. The chicken would die walking on the magma blocks. And then all their XP gets fed over to this slime block launcher system. And the reason I did that, and you can see it's actually catching in water up here. The reason I did the slime block launcher instead of a bubble vader is because while XP will float in water, so we can see it floating up like that, it doesn't actually get affected by the bubble column. So even though the items will shoot up much faster, the XP won't. I was actually working on Glorious a while back with Glotz on his design for a portal pigman farm, and that was one of the ideas I had when I saw his, and we tried it and saw how slow the XP was coming up the top. It took a couple of minutes to get all the way from the bottom to the top. And so he opted not to go with that for Glorious, and to be frank, I don't blame him. You know, when you're on a tech server, this might not be the best option, but if you're on a deco phase server, this might be perfect. But the other nice thing is those bottom layers where they're all kind of bunching up. If you walk far enough away, they are going to despawn. So just your normal moving around the overworld, you see they all despawned. So now it's going to be opening up that MSPT a lot. As we can see, it's already dropping there. And then all the ones on the top are eventually going to peter out, and you don't have to worry about that. So it's really only going to be keeping those pigmen as you're standing in the AFK spot because it's so far down. One thing for the setup steps of this, again, we don't want the items. You notice there are a couple of them that kind of break through the system there. But we are using a headless piston because the headless piston, if I turn on hitboxes here, we can see it stops the XP from going in because the hitbox is too big, but the items hitbox is small enough that it goes under the headless piston and into the fire. So let me real quick just show you how to set up the headless piston. So this is how you're going to create a downward facing headless piston. What you want to do is this right here is the piston that you want to be headless. So we have this set up here. I'm going to look at it from a couple angles so you can get your screenshots. You want to have redstone dust there, and then we're going to put our end crystal there. We're going to see that that piston is going to push it down. It's going to blow up in the fire. We need to make sure that we get rid of this obsidian so that we can get the blast under there. And then once I flick this lever, we now have our headless piston. Before turning off the lever, I want to make sure that I get my redstone block up there so it stays powered. So no matter what I do around it, that is now going to stay as a headless piston. If I don't have this redstone block there, it's going to become a regular piston again. Just make sure you do that, get your redstone block there, and then leave it. So that's really it for this video. Again, do I highly recommend this? Not really. This is not one of those videos where I'm doing something saying that this farm is now the best option that you have, and I highly recommend this. This is just showing one way that I used to get around a annoyance, which was more floating portals in the sky. So yes, this is a portal spam farm. It works a little bit differently than most other portal spam farms because, as you can see, portal pigmen, they don't actually go through to the nether, so they spawn with portal cooldown, and we don't have to worry about that. But again, if you do decide to do this, world download of this, as you see here, will be in the video description, so check that out. I'll catch you in the next one. Have a good one. Bye.